To get the best result, it's all about ambition, hard work, and doing the right things right. In 1982, two Dutch brothers invented an automatic way to time RC races. The system of the company, called AMBIT, was quickly adopted by pro racing series like NASCAR and IndyCar. Automated timing for mass participation sport events was also invented in the Netherlands by Champion Chip in the early 90s, giving athletes a personal chip time of their performance. In 2008, the two companies joined forces and MYLAPS Sports Timing was born. We never stop innovating with state-of-the-art timing systems and digital services to enhance the event experience. With our X2 platform, we bring motorsports timing to a whole new level with two-way communication. Our event app and photo video create the ultimate event experience for athletes and fans with live data and personal content like photos and videos. SpeedHive provides a pro-level racing experience for amateur and club events by analyzing personal data. We capture performances of over 20 million racers and athletes every year and use live data to spark emotions. MYLAPS. Experience progress.
Every season of racing has to come to an end, but not all of them come to a crescendo quite like this. The MYLAPS Indy Elite Series campaign has traveled from coast to coast throughout 2019, visiting some of the trickiest road courses and some of the most challenging ovals. Adam Blocker spent the majority of the season atop the standings and clinched the championship in Elkhart Lake last week. There was so much on the line for the championship trophy, but with that decided, all the focus goes to winning this race. A double points event? Sure. Double the action? Definitely. Over 25 drivers will take to the track in Fontana, California tonight to tackle the Powerade Championship. MYLAPS, the Coca-Cola bottling company of Kokomo, Indiana, and SimTV are proud to present the final race of the 2019 season. It's time to go racing for 150 laps for one final time at Auto Club Speedway. Welcome to SimTV. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined tonight by Finney and DeCuna for the season finale of the 2019 MYLAPS Indy Elite Series season. Next season, Finney and the Coca-Cola bottling plant in Kokomo, Indiana has taken over the title sponsorship. We go racing again in 2020, but we got to finish off this season first. Your expectations and your excitement level for this 150-lap event in Fontana tonight.
Yeah, it should be a really great event, especially if Michigan does anything to go off. Fairly similar tracks, obviously different in quite a few ways, but fairly similar in their layout and the way they drive. Michigan was a fantastic race that these guys put on, very exciting to watch. And if it's anything like that, we are in for a good 150 laps.
Take a look at the track map for tonight's race at Auto Club Speedway. 2 miles around this course, Finney, in 4 corners, very much like Michigan. And as you said, kind of a pack race situation we saw there. A lot of action through that long event, but also some trouble, especially on restart. So keeping yourself out of trouble for all 150 laps is going to be challenging. But do you think this race is going to go more green, or do you think we're going to have a couple of yellows to split this one up?
I think we might see a few yellows here and there. I don't think it's going to be a caution fest. I hope it's not a caution fest. These guys have been really on these toes throughout the season, and the races have been really green. So I think we might see a few cautions here and there. Obviously, when you put 26 guys going at 230 miles an hour, inches away from each other, something's bound to happen, so we might see a few here and there.
Taking a look at our track conditions for tonight's race while qualifying is underway. About 5 minutes left in that. 65 degrees in the air. It's a cool day here in Fontana. 82 degrees on the track surface with wind 8 miles an hour out of the southwest. Partly cloudy skies. A beautiful afternoon for racing in California. So relatively grippy conditions. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of slipping and sliding on our own, but talk to me about the downforce configuration that we might see on these cars tonight, Finian, because especially at Michigan, we saw a lot of cars running those front wickers. Some drivers did not. Which setup do you think is probably the best? A higher downforce one for cornering, or the low downforce set to be slick on the straights?
I think, for me personally, I'm the worst person to ask about setups, but in my personal opinion, I think with a slightly more worn out surface, less banking to go with, I think it would be more beneficial to run a higher downforce setup than some of these other guys. But again, it really just comes down to driver preference and what you're going for and how you set up the car. So I would think higher downforce, but I'm looking through the grid right now with the wickers on their front wings, and already seeing bunch of different approaches to this race.
So we're looking at Tony Schoen as he works his way off of turn 2. A great looking throwback paint scheme on that car, the 31. Down the back straightaway, take a look at the speeds we're achieving here. 231 miles an hour. That's without a draft into turn 3. Of course, they're on the qualifying set now, but for the race, I'd expect to see speeds up the high 220s and low 230s at the end of the straights in a full draft. Across the line for his second time around. It's only going to be a 31.647, good enough for 10th. Still a lot of drivers left to qualify. Tim Doyle throttling up right now, as well as Ray Kingsbury in the 25, and his Spark VR car loose and sliding out of turn 2. He's going to collect it and continue, but getting on and off pit road is going to be a challenge. We saw last Friday night in the Elite Mega 86 Driver Series at Gateway, they had a lot of trouble getting throttled up from restarts and also in and out of pit lanes. So is that a struggle or a challenge for the drivers tonight? Maybe not on the racetrack, but getting off and onto it.
Yeah, I think getting off probably won't be as bad. Really just got to watch the throttle input. I think definitely getting on pit road is going to be a lot more challenging. You're coming off the banking. It's a pretty sharp transition from the banking to the apron coming out of turn 4. So you're going to have to watch out for that. Try to straighten out the car as much as you can before you get on pit road. We could see a few drivers mess it up. They could even bring out a caution.
So Henry Bennett in the 007 comes across the line. His first time was a 32-1, good enough for dead last, but it's the second lap where we've seen a lot of time pickup. He's second in the point standings, Finney, and unfortunately that's as good as he's going to be able to do. His teammate Adam Blocker locked up the championship last week at Elkhart Lake with his victory at Road America. So Henry Bennett's just out here for fun tonight, or is there something else on his mind?
Oh, honestly, really, I would say A for fun, and also, to win the race, I think would be a huge step of confidence. Not that he really lacks any confidence, but it's definitely I think will be a nice thing to carry over into the next season with a win in the last race. So I think a lot of drivers might have the same mindset.
Henry Bennett goes 5th quick as Chad Simpson winds up for his second lap. He rolls out of turn number 4. A great looking livery on this car. I believe this is a throwback to, is this a Hot Wheels car? It looks like it. Something very similar to it, but it's got a great blue metallic colors on it. Again, one of the Spark VR machines this week. A different look for Simpson versus the rest of his team. Dan Ench in the 52 carrying the traditional colors for this organization. Comes across the line, and he goes to 31.8, which is only good for 19th quick. He's going to back it down. He'll start towards the tail of the field tonight. Flynn Lazier, also a Spark VR car, throttling up for his first timed lap. And Richard Holt, the only other driver out on the racetrack right now, still making a timed effort here. Lazier goes to 32.1 on his first lap. That's good enough for 21st. Then throttling up onto the long back straightaway here. It's bumpy up by the wall. I guess that's another consideration too. What do you have your damper set at? This is not necessarily a smooth racetrack. At least it isn't on the back straightaway for sure. So are you concerned at all about the suspension setup tonight, or is it really just aero that you're worried about?
I think a little bit more on the aero. I think you might want to also just you might not even really have to worry about it if you run the right line. It really depends on how much of the line you're running. But I do think, especially coming off the turns, those guys might want to watch out for the bumps by turn 4, because that can almost throw your car into the wall.
Richard Holt, the last driver to make a qualifying effort here with 16 seconds left in queue. He'll go for his second lap, which will be a 31.920, and it will not bump him up from where he was. Andreas Eich in the 76 sits 23rd. 3 drivers, David Adams, Brendan Trost, and Joe Flanagan, did not make an effort. I'm told that Brendan Trost had a hardware issue, which is why he did not make his qualifying effort. So he will start at the tail tonight. Let's take a look at our race information. 150 laps, 300.1 miles. Again, this race sponsored by the Coca-Cola bottling plant of Kokomo, Indiana. We want to thank them for their support this season, as well as MYLAPS. Again, Coca-Cola bottling plant of Kokomo taking over that title sponsorship for 2020. That will start in January of 2020. So keep an eye out right here on Sim TV for that stuff to show up in the next couple weeks. So heading down to the racetrack here in just a moment. One last look at our track conditions and a full crowd here today. Track temp pretty much exactly where it was. 81 degrees, 8 miles an hour of wind out of the south now. Partly cloudy skies again. So it's going to be a nice night for racing. Going to be a lot of pack racing like we saw at Michigan. We also saw something peculiar at Michigan that I don't think we've seen in IndyCar before. And that's a lot of team interaction. It was almost like a restrictor plate race at Talladega. We saw the Spark VR team especially take command at the front of the field and basically control the event just by kind of keeping their 4 or 5 drivers up at the front and have one at the back blocking for them to keep those drivers up towards the front of the field and controlling the pace of this race.
Yeah, we could see stuff like that occur. I'm curious if we do see that. We got it. I feel mostly scramble, which you can't expect just coming out of qualifying, but we'll see if we do see stuff like that occur. We see Demerit and Lichtenberg starting 3rd and 4th, so the Broken Arrow guys starting close to the front. And
brand new liveries, or at least updated liveries on these cars. Some shine given to those machines, a little bit shinier than they used to be. It's looking good, as well as the 67 car up there in the outside lane. That's AJ Burton, a beautiful kind of cherry red color on that car this week. Looking good for him. There's a Sadie Sim Autosport car. I believe that's John Downing in the 40, lined up behind Liam Quinn. There's Riley Thompson. Let's actually roll through our starting grid here, and we'll show you the starting lineup for tonight's 300-mile event. On the front row, AJ Burton on pole with his number 67. Simon Bryant, one of the Sadie Sim Autosport cars, in the 22, starts second.
Yeah, then after them, moving back to row number 2, the Broken Arrow guys, Christopher Demerit, going to be starting on the inside lane. Outside him, Brendan Lichtenberg in 4th.
Row number 3 will be 5th and 6th. It's Henry Bennett, the runner-up in the championship. Liam Quinn in the 44, desperate to get a late-season win. He rolls off 6th tonight.
Back behind them in the 43, Dakota DeCienzo will be lining up in the 7th position. Outside of him in 8th, John Downing in the 40.
Then I'm back to row number 5 in 9th place. Bradley Walters from Indiana in the number 56. Indy cars in his blood. Can he get another one tonight? Riley Thompson in the 58 rolls off 10th from the Mid-South.
Back in behind them in the 93, Joshua Chin, going to be starting in 11th, looking for his 2nd win of the season. Outside of him in the 32, Andrew Wood, starting in 12th.
13th and 14th in the 31, it's Tony Showen from the Midwest, rolling off on the inside lane. And on the outside, Chad Simpson, one of the Spark VR cars, that beautiful blue, yellow, and red livery, rolls off in 14th.
And going back in the 47, Rob Powers will be starting in 15th, and outside him in 16th, Ray Kingsbury in the 25.
Let the rest of those scroll along the bottom of the screen as we've got time to fill in only a couple more rows as we roll through turns 3 and 4. AJ Burton, a spectacular qualifying effort, kind of snuck under our noses with the pole position here, Finian. He's been quiet most of the season, but where he has been good is on racetracks just like this. So can he get his first win of the season? We'll see. He's going to have 150 laps to get it done. Pace car pulls out at turn number 4 down onto the pit lane. Coming to the green flag, it'll be 150 laps, 300 miles. Here we go. Final race of the season. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Auto Club Speedway. Down the back straightaway for the first time, Bryant in the 22 went around the outside in turns 1 and 2, got around the 67. They're going to be side by side for the lead. The Broken Arrow cars, the 144 and 10, they were side by side through 3 and 4, but it's Demerit that comes out into 3rd out of turn 4.
Yeah, Demerit Lichtenberg kind of laying back on the outside lane, and it's Henry Bennett. I believe that is 44 Liam Quinn. He's also up there trying to move up the spots.
Yeah, Liam Quinn, that purple and white car on the outside. We're going to see how the multiple lines fare tonight. Maybe the bottom of the racetrack better early in the run, the top better in the late going. That's what we saw kind of at Michigan. As you see Christopher Demerit go to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 3, get a campaign for the lead.
He's wasting no time to get to the front. Same thing with Henry Bennett. He's going to muscle his way on through past the AJ Burton car, and he's going to move himself up into second, even look for the lead now on the front straightaway.
Yeah, big pack race as we head down to turn number 1. It's Henry Bennett, the 007, kind of sneaking out to the lead for a moment, but there's a whole host of cars 3 wide towards the middle of the field. It's Bradley Walters that was in the middle of it. Tony Shawan in there as well as Joshua Chin and more.
Yeah, everyone else is kind of getting themselves started online. We saw the same thing in the Michigan race. Took a few laps, these guys get accordion back up together, and then all hell started to break loose. We'll see here if the same thing's going to occur.
Bennett and Bryant side by side at the line. Who's going to get it this time? It will be the 007 by a nose. Behind them, it's Demerit and the pole sitter AJ Burton, who slipped to 4th early in the going. Maybe just, again, as you said, feeling out the race car, seeing what they have to work with before they try to climb forward and keep their cars out front. Because you have to be defensive here, and to be defensive requires you to be aggressive, and you can't be aggressive unless you trust yourself and your race car. See, Joshua Chin in the 93 broke a long winless streak earlier this season at Sebring. And again, he's the winningest driver in Indy Elite Series history. And he rolls in 7th place right now. And he started the night in 11th, so up 4 spots early. And he continues his climb on the outside of Riley Thompson in the 58, who had a spectacular end of the season in the Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series on Thursday nights.
We're starting to double file up at the front. Simon Bryant back at the lead, Henry Bennett on the outside. So more and more guys are getting to the front. I'm curious in seeing what Joshua Chin can do. That car looking really fast.
Yeah, Henry Bennett was way high in 3 and 4, but one team I haven't seen a whole lot of yet tonight is that Spark VR team. The highest running Spark VR car is Ray Kingsbury in the 25. Now, the Kingsbury brothers have had kind of a messy season here and there and looking for redemption tonight. And right now, the 25 is the highest running of those teammates. The next one, I think, is the 42 of Chad Simpson, back in 16th at the moment. So I don't think they're going to have quite the strength that they had earlier in the season because they're lacking the pace, it seems, so far. But I think we'll see them up at the front towards the end. And look at Joshua Chin from 11th to the lead in 6 laps. How about that for the 93?
Yeah, that car looks really in a world of its own. Just drove up to the front, took it away, and we'll see if he's going to be able to keep it. It's going to be a much harder thing to do, but definitely a car that can pass through the field. That's going to be important.
Still 2 and 3 wide throughout the field. We're going to keep us focused at the front of the field. It's the 93 that pulls the lead away. Simon Bryant fighting hard on the outside. And up the middle, you see, that's the 10 of Brennan Lichtenberg, who was our winner at Worldwide Technology Raceway earlier this season. Gotten a couple victories this time out. Just didn't have the consistency to really compete for the championship, so had to settle for running about, I believe, 4th or 5th in the standings as we head into the final race of the season. Chris Stouffer in the 13. If you remember all the way back to Pocono, the very first round of the season, Chris Stouffer was a driver that could have won that race, and has been mighty quick in a bunch of the oval races since then, but we haven't seen him have the success or at least the finishing positions that he deserves in this 13, so watch out for him tonight. One last time to get a victory in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, noticing at the front of the field, Chin was almost starting to drive away from the leaders. They were having a tough time getting back around him.
So I guess that makes you wonder. I mean, again, open setups here, so your car's gonna be pretty setup dependent. But do you think it's possible to break away, or do you think it's gonna be draft required at all times tonight?
I think it's gonna be a little bit more draft requirement. We might see one of those incidents. Someone breaks loose in the middle of the pack. Everyone starts to check. We might see something occur there. I don't think you're purely going to be able to drive away. You really need a fast car. You might need jet fuel also as well to try to break yourself away from the rest of the pack. So we'll see, though. He's continuing to lead and a pretty strong lead.
Henry Bennett slipped all the way to 10th. I don't know if this is on purpose or by design or not, but started 5th back to 10th spot. It was as high as the lead for a couple laps, but looks like he's kind of bailed out of that and maybe just trying to keep himself out of trouble. Again, there's really no urgency here because he already knows he can't win the championship. The best he can do is second, so you might as well be conservative and try to win the race later. Who's trying to win the race now is the 67.
Spark VR guys.
Well, you mentioned the Spark VR guys. Well, Flynn Lazier all the way back in 21st. Dan Ench also in 23rd. They just haven't shown a lot of speed yet, and the highest one is still Kingsbury in 10th spot. So do you think that they're not quite as strong as they were, or is this by design?
I think it is by design. I think they're just kind of hanging out in the back at the moment. I think they're feeling along with it, 150 laps. Might as well wait out at least the first 100 and then start to move themselves towards the front.
You saw Brennan Lichtenberg in the 10 car, all sorts of sideways into 3 and 4. And take a look at their front suspension. They're running a little bit, or a couple sections of that wicker. And again, that adds a little bit more front bias to the steering on this car, a little bit more oversteer. Just can see that bit more rotation, but I think what we're going to see a lot of tonight is drivers experimenting with the setups, especially with the weight jacker in that race car to try to adjust the handling of this car over the course of a run, because God knows it's going to change from lap 1 to lap 150. Joshua Chin still hanging on. AJ Burton looking to get the lead back after he started on pole. There's that purple 44 out of line. That's Liam Quinn. He's up to 6th tonight. He started in 6th, so hasn't been able to go anywhere, hasn't dropped anywhere. He's just kind of holding serve for now. Simon Bryan in the 22. The Sadie Sim Autosport cars had a rough middle of the season and probably just looking to turn around the poor late going, and they've had some decent runs lately, especially John Downing, but I think that for the entire team as a whole to get a good finish here today would be an excellent way to carry momentum into the 2020 season.
And so far so good, especially for Simon Bryan up there making some noise. See if he can stay it as he's trying to struggle with AJ Burton. Stouffer now working around the outside of him.
So we're kind of seeing two discrete lines forming, one on the bottom, one on the top, and a couple drivers experimenting towards the middle, in especially 3 and 4. But which line do you think is going to be the best in the long run here? Because at Michigan, I think we saw kind of the middle to the bottom be the best way around, but Kansas, the high line was the way to go. So what's your call tonight?
Yeah, I think with this track as flat as it is, I think the inside lane is probably going to be the better lane to go with. I think really the outside is only going to be good if you have a lot of banking, which this track lacks quite a bit of.
Big slide through turn 2 for Simon Bryan. He had to jump out of the throttle. Middle 3 wide on the back straightaway, just trying to get out of a bad situation, and he does. But that could have been disastrous. And again, understeer in the draft is a big discussion. A lot of drivers might run more downforce just to compensate for the lack of downforce that you get in that draft. So I think that might be why you're seeing a higher downforce setup on some of these cars versus someone like Joshua Chin that could be running a bit lower downforce just to get some more straightaway speed here.
Yeah, and actually, Chin, though, looking at him, he's running about a medium setting. Ray Kingsbury is the only driver who seems to have a full wicker on that car, if you look on the nose cam for him.
Yeah, and Kingsbury has moved his way up to 6. You see that black strip right behind the Spark VR logo on that front wing goes all the way across. And again, a little bit more downforce to help out in those low grip conditions behind another race car. We saw it at Gateway in a couple different series this season, how tricky that aero push can be when you're following in behind a car, especially at such high speed. So trying to compensate with that any way you can is always nice. The other thing that helps, Finian, is this racetrack is like a mile wide. You can go all over the place and still make speed. So duking and diving, Chris Stouffer jumps to the outside lane into turn 3, and again, he started a bit deeper, 17th, up to 3rd, so he's clawing his way forward as well. Looks like he's got a good piece so far tonight. Christopher Demerit in the 144 on the outside. Got Simon Bryant, Liam Quinn, Bradley Walters behind him. So I see almost a trio of Sadie Sim Autosport cars that are really fast so far. I see the 22 up here, as well as the 56. I also have seen John Downing have a lot of pace earlier. Didn't qualify very well in that 40, but looking for a bit of redemption in the race tonight.
No one has been able to get past Joshua Chin. He's led the most laps today so far. Yeah, and I've seen a bunch of guys in second place try different lines, different strategies. Burton, Stouffer now trying to work around him, and Chin just holding that inside line and not giving up. Yeah,
his best lap was a 31.379. That was 229.5 miles an hour average speed over the course of a lap. He's led 13, going to make it 14 this time through. And you mentioned how difficult it's been to get by this 93. Well, that's why I'm waiting for either the Sadie Sim Autosport cars or some of the Spark VR cars to get up here and challenge that leader as a team, because I don't think the 93 will last very long like that. Chad Simpson in the middle of the field in the number 42. Recorded his starting position all the way back in 14th. It's been slow progress forward tonight in that throwback Spark VR car. And again, running a full wicker on this. I think this is probably the Spark VR goal, is to run the more wicker. But at the same time, it's going to hurt them, especially when it starts getting strung out like this.
It looks like there's some separation forming up between some of the drivers. The top 3 starting to break away from Ray Kingsbury.
You can almost,
top 4 is starting to break away.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can almost tag Christopher Demerit in here. He's just kind of hanging on, but you're right. The front 3 have begun to separate. Ray Kingsbury has Bradley Walters in behind him. They are kind of losing time here as they come across the line. Chin just ran a 31.8. Although Ray Kingsbury just made up 3/10, so maybe that's not quite right. Look at the run they get on the straightaway. They're going to close that gap right back up. Out of turn 2 now, the 13 of Stouffer following Joshua Chin. And again, that 93 looks so strong here tonight. He was incredibly strong at Sebring a couple weeks ago where he absolutely dominated that race and won it. Tonight, he looks like he's got a similar piece, but you see Chris Stouffer sizing him up. Going to head inside, now outside on the front straightaway, taking a look for that top spot.
Yeah, Stover's been persistent on this line he's been running, drafting down the front straightaway, going to the outside. I think he's been going up a little bit too far to that outside as he tries to turn in. Chin's already passed him in the corner.
Again, the outside's
so
the longer way around here, Finian. So obviously, the track is so wide that when you head to the outside lane, that's a lot more ground to make up, but you can carry so much more momentum, I think, as the tires wear off a little bit, and they will wear. We've seen a half a second of fall off so far. We're going to see some drivers maybe negotiate or move their way up the racetrack. Again, we started this race run about 31.3s. We're down to 31.8s already, which is more fall off than we've seen in the past weeks. Bradley Walters in the 56 just got by a couple race cars, put him in front of Lichtenberg and Ray Kingsbury. In the front 4, stacked up nose to tail, and Stouffer again heads to the outside lane and beginning to tire out maybe Joshua Chin's rear wing.
Yeah, it could be. I'm also curious about how Joshua Chin's tires have been looking. I mean, he's got clean air, but he's been sticking to that white line like glue this entire race, or ever since he's been up in the lead at least. And I gotta imagine he's going to be taking some toll on the tires, so at some point this might fall through for him, but he's still holding strong.
Well, you know, when you talk about tire fall off, you have some options in a stock car. You can take 2 tires, you can take 4, you can take none. But I feel like in an Indy car, you really don't get that option. It's going to be 4 tires or no tires. These cars seem to have kind of a strange balance when you try to put uneven tires on left side or the right side. So I think it's going to be 4 tires and fuel almost every time we hit pit lane. And I do think with the fall off that we've seen, we are going to see less strategy being played on pit lane. It's going to be pretty much the same thing for everybody. Just a matter of when you come down to pit lane, which is going to be the challenge and the interesting part to tonight. All but one driver that started this race is still running. Richard Holt has pulled off the racetrack. I don't think there was any drama there. Just he's now 10 laps down. Brandon Tross, the last driver running, he is actually off and into pit lane here, Finney. Is this a scheduled stop potentially for the 66?
Feels kind of early, and I'm surprised he would be one of the first drivers to come in. You know, typically want to, especially track leaders, want to come in with these some other drivers or be close to on sequence.
So do you think that he's maybe playing this race in reverse and planning out where he's going to be on lap 150 and not maybe running the tank out first and running it the traditional way? Because this is not a bad idea. Again, he started at the tail of the field, wasn't able to really go anywhere, so why not throw something at the wall and open sticks? Start-finish line, Joshua Chin and Stouffer still side by side. The front 4 have a slight gap back to Bradley Walters in 5th and a couple gaps here and there, but for the most part, still what I would consider a pack race here at Auto Club Speedway, which is what we expected with the speed so high. Into turn 3, Joshua Chin on the bottom of the racetrack, Stouffer on the outside, AJ Burton, Demerit, your top 4, then Walters, Quinn, Kingsbury, Lichtenberg, Simpson, and Doyle, your top 10. Stouffer swings back to the outside on the front straight.
Yeah, he's continuing that line up. AJ Burton second, Christopher Demerit's been just kind of sitting back and forth. He's been hanging out, just riding along the coattails of the top 3, and I think he's just kind of waiting to see how this run plays out, maybe waiting for pit stops.
Another driver that we haven't really talked a whole lot about tonight is Tim Doyle in the number 11. That's that other purple car in that second group. He started 20th up to 10th. I mean, he hasn't had a whole lot of success this season. He has in past seasons. Is it too little too late for the 11 to get a victory this season, or do you think tonight could be his night?
I think it could really be anyone's night, especially anyone really in the top 10. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and see if he can move himself up, but he's pretty far down the order.
Also, Riley Thompson in the 58. Again, he ran the IndyCar Series over in the Fuel Racing League this season and didn't really have a whole lot of success early here in the Indy Elite Series, then ran the Fuel stuff, won a couple races, and I think that helped his confidence. And again, this is an open setup series versus a fixed set from Fuel, but what can you learn about the race car in a fixed set that you can apply to an open setup formula like Indy Elite?
Oh, before I go on, that leader's coming in down to pit lane.
All right, a whole bunch of race cars coming on down. Stouffer coming in, and looks like, for the most part, drama free. I also see the 75 of Logan Simmons, who is about to go, actually just did go a lap down. So the 75 not having a great start. So pit stops on around lap 30-31. That's basically a 4 or 5 stopper for me. But what about the... Ooh, we see the 13 overshoot his box here, Finney, and that's disastrous, and he can't find his way in.
Yeah, especially when you start doing that reverse and pulling forward, just trying to get yourself lined up. You lose so much time. And for Stouffer, he's not going to completely lose the draft, but he's definitely going to lose the lead. Yeah,
and you see Tony Schauen pull out in front of him. Schauen was running at the back half of the top 10, so certainly a lot of spots to be lost here. For the leaders, though, Ray Kingsbury's got it. Demerit wants it. That was a little dicey there at the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, there's a massive group of drivers down on pit road, almost 10,
Holy
12,
cow.
pretty much half the field. Yeah, it's a busy place.
It certainly is a busy place as we look on down, and again, pit lane has been a trouble spot for a lot of drivers this season, especially getting on and off, as I mentioned in the pre-race. I see some more drivers at the back. That is Ray Kingsbury and Demerit. Actually, Demerit stayed out. It's Kingsbury, and I believe that's Riley Thompson in behind him as the rest of the field exits pit lane.
It's interesting seeing how if these, small difference in laps, it's going to have an effect on the way this field looks.
I think it certainly will. I mean, again, we've seen the fall-off be about a half a second, so you're losing that time if you're staying out on the racetrack, as a lot of the field rolls off the apron, but look at where the 13's going to cycle out, back towards the tail half of the top 10. So back in 14th right now, there's Henry Bennett in front of him. Still a lot of cars left to get by.
And up to the front, Joshua Chin, he's trying to work around Brendan Lichtenberg and Bradley Walters. They're 3 wide for the lead.
This is what the lead is going to turn over to, is it's, I believe, just the 25 and 144 and the 58 that are on the apron. There's the 58, there's the 25, the 144 right behind them. I think, ooh, the 144 just hit pit lane, that is why. But up at the front, you mentioned Lichtenberg and Chin side by side down the back straightaway, but that 93 is so strong so far tonight. Working lap number 35 now. It's a 5-car group at the front of the field from Demerit. Or actually, it will be Lichtenberg back to Simon Bryan in the 22, as Demerit's actually going to lose his top 5 status here as he rolls off the pit lane.
He's still getting up to speed, and these guys are just flowing on by him.
Well, that's the penalty of staying out so long on the green flag cycle. So I don't know if he'll get that back, because you need to be in the draft for that strategy to really work out. It looks like he will make it, but he's got a lot of work to do, Finney, and I don't know if that was the right call. So Walters and Simon Bryant, 2 teammates starting to show face at the front of the field, and I like this, Finney, and we saw the Spark VR cars dominate Michigan because they work together. We could see a very similar strategy here. Do you think the Sadie Sim Autosport guys learned from that and are willing to try that same strategy here, even though the Spark VR strategy kind of wrecked these guys out at Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it can work. Again, you have to have a lot of communication when you're, doing this kind of strategy. I'm sure they're going to try to work together as much as they can. Obviously, you want to get the win for the team, then get the win for yourself. I'm sure that's what a lot of these guys seem to be operating by. So I'm sure they're going to just try to get a victory for the team, especially after the struggle of the season they've had.
Yeah, again, it's so early in the race now that I wouldn't really expect anybody to take any enormous risks, but I certainly do think that this is time to experiment. I mean, if you're going to try something, try it now, because it's inconsequential here. If you spin out, you can come down, you can get your car fixed, go back out there and still have a chance to race. You do not want to spend lap 145 figuring out how to work together with your teammates, because you will end up in the safer barrier here. Cross start-finish line to complete lap number 36. Past the 1/5 mark of this race, see Tim Doyle pop out right against the safer barrier on the front straight with Henry Bennett and Chris Stouffer sandwiching him. He's in a 12th spot right now. I'm really liking that purple and white 93 though, Finney. He's been really quick so far, and I've yet to see any single car be able to pass him and hold position.
Yeah, he's been one of the more dominant cars tonight. He's driven himself back up to the lead yet again, even though he got kind of swamped on that pit cycle, got moved back a few positions, still found himself up in the front. Bradley Walters, Liam Quinn, and AJ Burton trying to chase him back down yet again, but he's going to just do that. I think the same thing he's been doing, stick to that inside white line and just ride.
On the front straightaway, we saw a single car on the bottom of the racetrack holding off 2 groups of 2 on the outside, kind of drafting together. That's how strong Chin's car is right now. Look at Bradley Walters get that slipstream, though, as does AJ Burton from 4th. They're both going to swing to the outside, but just can't carry the momentum through 3 and 4 to make a pass with it. Burton all the way up to the wall, and he might bring Simon Bryant, but it looks like Bryant want to stick with Bradley Walters. Now he's going to go up to the high side here, so maybe those two are not working together, those two blue and white cars.
And here comes Walters to the outside of Liam Quinn, though. And Liam Quinn, too, before that pit stop sequence, he was looking really strong towards the end of that run, was passing a few guys to get himself inside that top four. So he might have something for Joshua Chin here.
Maybe also tweaking that weight jacker as well to help out with the rotation through the center of the corner, especially on older tires as we come on through complete lap number 39. The top five are pretty much single filed out. Brendan Lichtenberg wants in here, though, as does Riley Thompson. How about Chad Simpson, too? Again, the night started in 14th up to 8th. A very distinct looking livery on this car this week, and you see Christopher working back from his pit road mistake back inside the top 10.
Yeah, it's good to see that it didn't hurt him a whole lot, so he was able to really work through the drive. He still got some speed, too, by the looks of it.
You know, the crazy...
We'll see how far he can get back up.
The crazy thing about Christopher is he is, I believe, oh yeah, he's the only driver that has a sub 31 second lap time. That lap average, 232.7 miles an hour average speed. That's insane around here. He's flying. And maybe he has a car better set up running in the draft than outside of it.
Yeah, we haven't yet to see a whole lot of separation. We saw a decent amount towards the end of that run, but everyone's back up together with some fresher tires and with the way that sequence kind of played out. So we'll see if we do get any sort of separation. But yeah, I haven't seen these guys out running by themselves for the most part.
Yeah, it's kind of an accordion effect after the pit stops. Everybody kind of gets the handling back in their race cars. They start kind of closing back in on each other. Here's a driver that we haven't talked a whole lot about yet tonight either. Andrew Wood in the number 32. He almost left, almost quit mid-season because he just was having so much bad luck, so much misfortune that there was just no confidence left in this 32 camp. Then he went out to the Fuel IndyCar Series on Thursday night at this very racetrack. Guess what happened there, Finian? He won.
Yeah, he won. Did a great job there, and has been pretty strong, honestly, ever since across both series. So nice to see him doing well. And the fact that he didn't quit and still running so well, and has a chance of winning tonight if he keeps up the pace.
I think the confidence booster of winning at this racetrack in Fuel has to be enormous for this young man. So as he rolls through and heads towards the top five, I wouldn't count him out, especially as we get towards the end of the race. He was really, really expert making moves at the tail end of the Fuel IndyCar race at Auto Club Speedway. I'd expect the same moves to be played out here tonight. Across the start-finish line is Joshua Chin still hanging on. It's two purple cars at the front of the field. Liam Quinn has found his way back up into second, and Simon Bryant swings to the outside, brings Burton with him. Riley Thompson sitting in fifth, just trying to figure out which line's going to be the quickest one.
And Liam Quinn stuck to that inside in the waste air of Joshua Chin. He lost a lot of time, going to drop back to fourth.
Simon Bryant back up to second place. No other major changes that we can tell you about. Henry Bennett, though, in the 007 again. Do you think this is by design that he's kind of lingering outside the top 10, or do you think this is just maybe a general lack of pace in this 007?
I mean, I imagine he's just kind of riding this out. Could be. I mean, he's still at the tail of the lead pack, which I think is kind of his goal, at least for now, to stick with the leaders. So we'll see maybe towards the end of the run if he decides to move up, because that's kind of what Liam Quinn did, and that kind of put himself in this position. You see him up here in the top four. He kind of waited around midfield for most of the early part of that first run, and then just drove through the rest of them by the later part.
Yeah, so back in 14th now. Jumping back up towards the front, Joshua Chin has a new challenger. It's Simon Bryant in the 22 on the outside lane. Do you remember back a couple weeks ago at Richmond Raceway how much trouble the Sadie Sim Autosport team had? We talked earlier, I mean, we don't want to get too much on bashing this team because it sounds like we are, but they just had some awful rotten luck, and Richmond was kind of the crescendo of that, and they just had all of the four of their race cars involved in spins or accidents. Tonight, so far, so good.
Yeah, they have a win this season with David Adams at Texas, so they're a good team, and they've finished pretty solid for the most part. Yeah, but I think that they need a little bit more luck coming their way, and this is looking pretty good for them so far.
Well, you mentioned the win at Texas. That was race number 3. We're all the way at the tail end of the season after running about 12 rounds of this, so it's been quite a while since we've seen the blue and white in victory lane, and they're going to try to get it done this afternoon here at Auto Club Speedway. See the sun kind of lowering in the sky, checking an update on our race conditions. Track temps fallen a couple degrees again. I don't really think that'll be a huge factor, especially with the rubber coming into the racetrack. There's going to just be more and more grip throughout the race, not less.
Andy Burton again with the run to the outside. Although the car I think I've seen more successful making an attempt at Joshua Chin, I think, has probably been Chris Stouffer. And Stouffer, speaking of which, back in 6th, but whoa, he's going to run up the hill.
I was just about to mention him because remember, he slid through his pit box on that first pit cycle, and we thought that would take him out of the running, or at least for now, and it did for a little while, but he's been running some incredible laps and getting himself back into the fight. In 8th right now, working over the 42 of Chad Simpson on the bottom of the racetrack, and Riley Thompson right ahead. What do you think?
AJ Burton.
I was going to say, what do you think about the... I see Burton go to the bottom for second. What do you think about the Spark VR call with the higher downforce trim? It doesn't really seem to be paying off so far. Kingsbury stuck in 10th.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem to have been a good move. I was looking through earlier in the race, just kind of analyzing everyone's settings. I think with the Spark VR guys seem to be running a lot of downforce. More of the higher downforce guys, I'm talking almost completely full wicker, have kind of been more towards the back of the field. So I don't think it's been working out too great for them. I think the best call has been, for what I've seen, is a kind of a middle approach.
The middle of the road, you know, kind of got to figure out which way it's going to work. And again, it's challenging to test these cars in dirty air because you can't necessarily practice with 25 other race cars. So you get to the race and it's a little bit of an unknown. As we come on through, you see Bryant swing to the outside lane for turn 3. This will be the 1/3 mark of this race. First 100 miles at Auto Club Speedway in the MYLAPS Indy Elite Series season finale are complete. Joshua Chin has led the most laps of anybody so far tonight. He logs his 39th lap led tonight.
Yeah, absolute domination. That car is almost like Excalibur trying to get it out of the lead instead of out of a rock. No one's been able to touch him since he's been up there.
Oh, real close to the fence out of turn 2. I think that was John Downing in the 40. And also Andrew Wood looking for 5th on Tim Doyle down into the bottom of turn 3. That 32 car. Big slide through 3 and 4, but he's looking pretty quick.
Yeah, Tim Doyle, the way this entire field shuffled out, he's gained a lot of time. He's running outside the top 10, I believe, when pit stop started. And here he is in the top 5 now. And we'll see if he's got anything. Yeah,
Tim Doyle's been a winner in this series before. Hasn't really had the success this season as the competition has just been so stiff, but he's certainly capable of winning. Liam Quinn, again, loose through 2. We've seen that car do that a couple times, and we got a trio of purple cars up here towards the front, and Quinn's going to be the last of them here shortly. AJ Burton cycles back to 2nd. And Liam Quinn back to 4th. Andrew Wood on the outside of him now looking for that spot. He'll tuck back in line on the front straight.
AJ Burton going to move out, and here comes Tim Doyle up the inside for 2nd place. This car looking really strong all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know what changed on this car. He seems to slide up a little bit out of turn 2, but then he's just so maneuverable, can turn it right back down to the bottom and doesn't seem to understeer.
If you look, actually, I think I can point out exactly why he's being able to run that. If you look at the note of his car, he's not only running a wicker, he's also running an extension on the left side. It's kind of hard to see, but you can just see it off the left side of that wing.
Doing everything you can. Look at that slingshot to the outside lane down into turn 1. Oh, he almost squeezed Burton into the fence down into turn 1. That got real dicey. Maybe Burton will think twice before putting the nose up there into turn 1.
He had a pretty good run through turns 1 and 2 here. He's going to get a draft down through the back straightaway to the outside in 3. Let's see, this is the best shot we've seen anyone make at Chin.
Yeah, we have not seen anybody really have the pace to contest the 93 for more than a couple laps. And Tim Doyle all over the back of him, swings right on the front straight. Battle for the lead.
He's trying to get every single ounce of draft he can, any single run he can on Joshua Chin. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough down into 1. He's going to pull back in line.
And Burton slotted in there as well, real tight through the center. And here goes Andrew Wood around the outside, takes 3rd place away. The 32 with the 11 and the 44 all looking incredibly strong now. I think these are the cars we got to watch to overtake this 93. Taking a look at the stint here, Finney, we've been out for 24 laps. We can only really go about 32, 33 laps. So the next 4 or 5 laps, I'd expect to see cars hit pit lane. What do you do if you're in this front group? When do you think it's a good time to pit?
Honestly, I would say just pit with everyone else. Don't do anything too out of the blue. While we were talking about tire wear and the lap time is falling off, I don't think, from what it seems, the lap's really going to do you a whole lot. If anything, you'll be up to speed when you catch some of the rest of the people that come down on pit road. So maybe want to take that into account, but definitely make sure you're hitting your numbers first and foremost.
No one a taker just yet. I think it's a little bit too early still. Oh, big block by the, I believe that was the 67 of AJ Burton on Simon Bryant. Took him all the way to the fence in turn 1. So Bryant going to be a little bit impatient. Liam Quinn tight through the center. Pushes the 67 way wide at the exit of 2.
Yeah, Yeah, heads up driving by Burton and also Bryant to get around Quinn. These guys have been doing a fantastic job tonight. Yet to have a caution as we're approaching up on halfway.
Brennan Tross back in pit lane for the second time tonight. He's actually out of the race car, and it looks like he's retiring for the night.
Just left.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's a real shame because he started off this season with so much pace at Pocono. Remember how good that night was going before he ended up getting caught up in a wreck? So I think for the 66, this is the season that could have been. It just didn't turn out that way. Into turn 3 now, the 11 of Tim Doyle balancing that left front tire on the white line. That's a danger here. Also, the apron. We talked about it at Kansas. We talked about it pretty much all the ovals. Is keep yourself off that apron. And you think it's an easy thing, but when you're going 200 miles an hour and you're trying to get the most out of this race car, you're going to be flirting and towing that line all night long. And that's probably where we're going to see our first yellow, is just someone stepping over that line.
AJ Burton trying to move himself back up the order. Has gone around Tim Doyle, now working on Andrew Wood.
Yeah, Burton, again, this cherry red paint scheme looks gorgeous, by the way, when it reflects in the light, working over second place Andrew Wood. And Wood's kind of snuck up there, and Doyle kind of quietly dropped out. So they essentially traded positions as Burton goes around the outside down into turn 1.
You know, I kind of wish we had a graphic showing how many changes we've had for second place, because I bet you it's a lot. I've not seen a whole lot of changes for the lead, unfortunately.
Well, I can tell you there's been 9 for the lead, and I think a couple of those were under the green flag pit stop sequence, but it's been mostly Joshua Chin in control of this event since the drop of the green flag. Not a single yellow slowing the progress yet tonight. That was the discussion as well. After Michigan and after some of the other races this season, there was a general frustration with how some of the wrecks were being handled, how often they were getting cautions. Not an issue so far tonight. We got 3 wide mid-pack, though. Lichtenberg in the center.
Lichtenberg, we were talking about him, he was kind of falling off pace, was just hanging back, and he's making his charge back up to the front, currently running in 7th.
Tony Schowen at the very tail end of this front group, back in 14th. Then got to go back to 3.3 seconds behind this to find John Downing in the 40. He's all by himself, and does he have damage on that car, or has he been in the wall? He just seems like he's off the pace, as is a bunch of other cars. We have some takers for pit lane this time, and it's Joshua Chin in the 93, Chris Stouffer in the 13, and the 67 of AJ Burton, and a couple more at the background.
Yeah, we'll see here. We saw, really, it was the second pass through pit road. A lot of takers down. We'll see if it's a similar story this time by, if everyone decides to immediately duck to pit road after the leaders have gone.
I would say it's pretty likely we'll have a similar scenario as we work through 3 and 4 now. Andrew Wood holds the top spot and slowing down drastically. I think he's going to hit pit lane, maybe bring some more with him. Here comes Lichtenberg, Walters, Tim Doyle, Bennett. Actually, looks like Bennett might have stayed out. Bryant and Schowen all come in on this sequence here.
Yeah, Simpson, Bennett, Kingsbury, Thompson, and Quinn have all stayed out.
So 7 drivers have yet to hit pit lane at the front of the field. Powers is the last driver in that group that is currently out on the racetrack. So Liam Quinn going to be slowing here in 3 and 4. Thompson stays out yet another lap. And Quinn's going to bring, I believe that is the 42 with him. That's Chad Simpson entering pit lane.
And Chin had a pretty poor pit stop sequence. He actually lost some time, quite a bit of time to Stouffer and Burton. He overshot his pit stop by just a little bit, but it's cost him a lot of time on the track.
Yeah, about a second and a half too long in pit lane. So he lost, actually, it's going to be a lot of spots here, maybe 3 or 4 by the time this all cycles out. So you see up the road, Bryant, Doyle, Stouffer, all drivers that have already made their pit stops. And up front, Riley Thompson, Ray Kingsbury, and Bennett, the last 3 drivers to come down, other than Christopher Demerit. He also is going to join them in hitting pit lane. Liam Quinn, we're just returning to the racetrack.
And Andrew Wood and Brendan Lichtenberg going for what would potentially be the lead once this all cycles out.
At 3 wide, there's a 67 of AJ Burton on the outside, Bradley Walters in the 56 on the bottom, but it's Lichtenberg that has control. They're going to blow by Quinn on the bottom, 2 by 2 by 3. Throttling back up for the front straightaway now. We're completing lap number 65. And the last of the drivers in pit lane. Exiting right now, there's Riley Thompson, currently the leader. And you can see the pack approaching from behind the wing. How quickly are they approaching Finney? And this is going to be challenging to get back up and in that lead pack.
Yeah, indeed it is. He's definitely going to get passed by Lichtenberg and a few others here. He should be pretty close to the lead. as they come on through him in turn 3.
That was an excellent sequence for the 58, and I don't think he'll be able to quite hang on to it, but he'll be inside the top 5 if he can just tuck in behind this 10 of Lichtenberg. Not quite, as he would, and Walter's going to shoot around him to the outside, as does A.J. Burton, but it's still a great sequence for the 58, gain some spots.
Yeah, much better than it was for Joshua Chin. He's got a little bit of work on his hands to do now. He's dropped quite a few positions outside the top 10.
This front group's making me a bit nervous now. There were 3 wide down the back straightaway.
Yeah.
Thompson's backing out. I think he knows this is a bad place to be, especially on cold tires.
Lichtenberg and Wood still fighting for the lead now.
Silver car on the bottom. It's the wooden and white one on the high side. And Lichtenberg is going to lead that lap by a nose.
Oh, look at the run. Stouffer's got moving to the outside into turn 1, 3 wide for the lead.
He tried 4 wide for a moment. It looked like, at least, but they think better of it. And now that the 93 is out of the picture, he's all the way back in.
Oh, he almost wiped out in turn 2.
With the 93 out of the picture, I think Stouffer's got a pretty good chance of getting around to the lead, but he's kind of tucked in behind. Big bobble by the 67 through 3 and 4. A little loose there. Maybe struggling with some oversteer.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to really take over the crown now. Being at the front, looks like Lichtenberg for now. Here comes Bradley Walters to run in second.
Some lap traffic up ahead. It's Andreas Eichen. I believe that's the 52 of Dan Ench. And onto the back straightaway. Everyone looking a little bit more aggressive now. Are they getting too complacent and they think it's too safe and they're just going and pushing a little too hard at this point in the race? Or do you think this is okay?
I think it's okay. It looks like it's starting to slow down a little bit. The sporadic movements, I think they're starting to file out to where they were earlier. I think a lot of guys have found since Chin's out of the picture, they have more of a shot at getting the lead. Although, as they say that, here comes Chin back into the lead pack.
Yeah, Joshua Chin flying right now. Look, he just cut so efficiently through this pack. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars in one corner. 5, 6 on exit if he can get around the 67.
Yeah, we just with complete ease in that car. You can tell that car is dialed in compared to the guys around him.
Lichtenberg and Walter still side. It's just like Kyle Busch in an Xfinity race, just blowing by these guys like they're stopped. That 93 is the car to beat tonight, and I just can't believe that it's taken him this long to get to the lead after his mistake on pit lane with how fast that car looks. A 31.5 compared to a 31.8 and 9 for everyone else around him. It's incredible to watch.
Stouffer slow mid-corner. He's going to go up the hill a little bit, almost into Liam Quinn. He has to back out.
Oh, man, he came over right in front of the 22 of Bryant. And Bryant was careful enough to back out of that situation, but that could have gotten bad real fast. Liam Quinn has also followed Joshua Chin back up to this front duo. And working our way 5 laps till halfway here in this race, Finney, and Joshua Chin to the outside, 3 wide for the lead into turn 1.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a struggle. He's going to be dealing with a lot of the issues everyone else is dealing, trying to pass him. Lichtenberg looks to be doing the same exact strategy that Chin was doing earlier in the race.
Some lap traffic ahead to deal with, but Chin leaning right in the right rear quarter panel of that 56. And there's a lot of trust in this group right now, Finn, and I just fear if any one of them violates that trust, it's going to be a real bad accident with how many cars and how fast we're going up at the front.
Well, that trust has pretty much taken us to halfway, completely green without a single caution, so I don't see why they couldn't do it for the second half of this race.
All it takes is one wrong move, one miscalculation, one bobble, and we can see some of our race-winning contenders go up in smoke here. Chin to the bottom of the racetrack. Lichtenberg has to give it up, and now swings to the outside, does that purple and white 93. And if this is not the best advertisement for Craig's setup shop, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it is absolutely dominating the field. Drive like you're got another 100 horsepower here. He's going to pinch down Bradley Walters on entry. Might have enough of a run here on the back straightaway. Here we go, drag race with both these guys.
Keeping each other honest as we head towards turn 3. It's Joshua Chin with a nose ahead as they enter the corner. Walters on the bottom. It's a risky move to pin somebody down here, but Chin actually can't quite stay even with Walters through 3 and 4 and has to tuck in behind on the front straight.
He's got a pretty good run down the front straightaway for Chin. Almost clear Bradley Walters entering turn 1.
Not quite. Walters still hangs tight on the bottom.
He's definitely gaining though, Chin. Here he goes, run on the back straightaway. He's going to win this fight eventually. Walters, though, not giving up.
Man, that 56 is so good on the bottom. Look at the 10 of Lichtenberg slipping up in front of the 22. And Bryant's back in this fight. Stouffer swings to the outside of A.J. Burton. They're side by side for 5th behind the battle for the lead.
Oh, boy.
These
guys have been extremely calm in comparison to the way they're racing now. They're going at it.
They certainly are, and this is halfway. Next time they come across the start-finish line, Chin pulls hard left to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to blow right by Bradley Walters with all that head of steam he had.
Yeah, caught Walters sleeping off at turn 2. He didn't protect that inside line. Chin fancied to move to the inside and got it done. Here comes Lichtenberg as well.
Still some lap traffic up ahead, 3 cars, but with how crazy these guys are battling, I don't know how quickly we're really catching them. 4 cars on the bottom, a couple cars up top, and here comes Lichtenberg to challenge the 93 on the high side.
Lichtenberg pretty much back at square one as we go halfway through this race.
And A.J. Burton, we can't really say enough about how good his night's been. Started on pole, he has not had the best of seasons, but still running inside the top 5. But look at Stouffer now, approaching 2nd place on the bottom, 17th to 3rd so far tonight.
Yeah, I still think Stouffer is probably the car I think has the best capabilities of passing Joshua Chin. No one really else has been able to do the same. Maybe A.J. Burton, you could argue.
I see 2 cars lined up against the blue wall on the outside lane, Finian, and guess what? They're teammates. And I think I like how they are right now. The 13 big slip at the exit of 2. He's going to drop 1, 2, 3, 4 spots on the exit of the corner. Look at the run that Liam Quinn has into 3. He had to back out of that because he just had nowhere to go with it. And all this is happening about a half a second behind Joshua Chin as he pulls away.
I'm really curious what a lot of these drivers are going to have as a strategy to try to beat Chin. I think that's really, they're all trying to beat that one driver, not really more so themselves.
It's just incredible. It's so easily discernible how much faster the 93 is than everybody else. And this is the kind of thing that drivers typically get frustrated with when it comes to open setups. How am I not as fast as him? It's all because of the setup. Well, Joshua Chin's a really good driver too. And on top of that, with open set, you at least have the opportunity to do something about it. You can change your car to go beat that 93. And you can bet that every driver right now is messing with their weight jacker. They're changing tire pressures. They're doing everything they can to get an edge on that Joshua Chin machine. And Andrew Wood, Chris Stouffer, and even Tim Doyle, they only got better throughout the race, although Doyle's kind of dropped out. I think he's just spectating this chaos from 9th.
He might just be dropping out and taking a little bit of a breather before mounting up a second chart because things have gotten pretty hectic over the last 5 to 10 laps.
Well, Chin's breakaway wasn't a breakaway for long. Wood and Stouffer and Lichtenberg have caught them. Now Stouffer swings to the outside lane. Lichtenberg follows.
Taking Stouffer probably a lot longer than he would have liked to admit. Whoa, as Wood has a big checkoff offer too to get back up into 2nd place, and here he is finally after his all trace back to that mistake he made on pit road. Finally up in 2nd place, ready to fight with Chin yet again.
Stouffer on the outside of Lichtenberg. They're fighting for 2nd. Behind them for 4th, it's Bryant and Quinn that are side by side. Tim Doyle, I just mentioned how he was kind of spectating this. Well, I think he's done spectating. He's back in the fight in 6th place now. About halfway through this fuel run as well, so starting to think about how you're going to line yourself up for the last, I think it's still a 2-stopper from here easily. Yep. You just got to figure out when you want to make that final stop and where your teammates are if you want to pit together.
Yeah, looking at lap 90 and lap 120 for those pit stops, the way they've been going at.
Across the start-finish line to complete lap number 81, Chin has led 56 laps. Stouffer has led 0. Can you imagine that Chris Stouffer has led not a single lap tonight after how long he spent up at the front challenging this 93? He might have lost some laps by 1,000th of a second, but he has not yet led a lap tonight.
He's going to try to change that here. He makes a move to the outside. Going to try to throw a little bit of a block on Liam Quinn as they go 3 wide for a second.
Offset like fighter jets through 3 and 4, screaming like a Harrier out of turn number 4, nose to tail, and Quinn has no one to draft with. Now it looks like Lichtenberg popped out of line, but too far back to really help that 44 machine. And A.J. Burton, middle 3 wide for the majority of that front straight. He'll get single filed out by the time they get to 1.
He's going to have to back out, let Liam Quinn in line in front of him.
Tim Doyle chasing everyone down to the bottom. Stouffer again slingshots around to the high side, but just once he gets here, the 93 just got unprecedented grip right along the bottom and just nothing that Stouffer can do, but here he is trying to line up a pass. At the line, just a nose does the 93 lead that lap.
Yeah, honestly, looking from Stover's perspective, he's really out of options. There's not a whole lot he can really do. Really, he's just got to hope to get ahead of the 93 on pit stops, and maybe hope that he makes a mistake, a bigger mistake on pit road than he made last time. But clearly, even with a small mistake, he was able to drive back up to the lead like it was no issue at all.
AJ Burton just got himself out of the middle of a 3-wide situation. Riley Thompson is a driver we haven't really spoken a whole lot about since the first pit stop sequence or so. Again, he started his night in 10th. He's in 8th. A solid top 10 level race car, but hasn't quite had the speed on this run that he had at the beginning of the race. Stouffer is campaigning so hard, but he doesn't have any help. And how do you help here? I mean, you can't bump draft. It's not Talladega. What do you do to help a teammate?
Really, just other than giving them a draft from out behind you, that's pretty much all you can do. Yeah, like you said, not a whole lot you can do, not a whole lot of tools in the shed as you go 3 wide again. Stouffer just going to hike ahead in turn 1, though. Still, the inside lane going to be more dominant.
You can actually see the difference in distance around the bottom of the racetrack, and they're all going about the same speed, 223 through the mid-corner, but the 93 pulled ahead because that was the shorter way around, and again, offsetting into turn 3 now. So you can just see the physics at play right here.
Yeah, really curious, speaking of physics, how this is going to change once they catch. They're catching a trio of lap cars, fairly slow rate, but they are still catching them. That's going to change a lot. It's going to put this 93 in dirty air, as well as the other guys around him. So I think, because that's really much the reason why Chin's been able to maintain this lead, is have clean air on that inside line. So once he catches these lap cars, I'm curious if we might potentially see a change for the lead.
Yeah, and where those lap cars go to get out of the way is going to be another big discussion, because they might choose the top of the racetrack and might actually help the 93, but more likely they'll just stay running their line like they're supposed to, and that's going to force Joshua Chin to have to work his way around. And that, again, he's been dominant on the bottom. I don't think we've seen the 93 quite as good on the top side of the racetrack, or at least he hasn't made that the line that he's been choosing tonight. So curious to see what the 93 does when he's put in that position. Now it's Liam Quinn challenging. They're all just cycling out here, trying to see who's the best at beating the 93, and none of them are right now.
It's like Excalibur. No one's been able to surpass him just yet. They've been able to get past him for maybe a few hundred yards, but that's about it.
I think the end of this race will be like the glass slipper, who can jam their car in the hole and make it work in the last 5 laps and have a magical ending to the 2019 season. Stouffer fighting understeer now. He might have burned off his tires fighting so hard. Dropping now back to Tim Doyle.
Oh boy, a little bit of a tap from some contact between Simon Bryan and Tim Doyle.
Go take a quick look at that replay. That was about as tight as it can get. Here's a look. You see those two? I don't know if they get together?
They did.
Oh, they
Simon
certainly
Bryan got
did.
some damage to his left front wing. Little bit of damage, but he's going to need to repair it down when they come up with pit stop. Just looking for him. The window's kind of open up.
Yeah, taking a look and trying to see about that damage. Oh yeah, definitely got actually fairly significant. You can see the difference in speed in the corner. 4 wide through the center as they struggle to get around the stricken 22. And he's going to need to come and service this car relatively quickly. I'd say if you're the 22, hit pit lane now.
Might try to stay out for one more lap just to try to be close with everyone else. Indeed he will. But he's definitely going to have to hang off the tail end of the group rather than the middle of it.
Yeah, just that little tap was enough to damage that race car, and it's certainly slowing him down quite a bit. For the lead, 3 wide again. Burton on the high side, Quinn in the middle, Chin on the bottom. Into turn 3, the 44 chooses the middle groove, but Joshua Chin is just stuck like a magnet to that white line. He has shown no difference in handling from the start of the run to the end of the run. He's running 6/10 slower, but just continues to have that maneuverability, which is something no one else has really been able to keep.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing too. You know, you gotta be concerned of as the driver on the inside, washing up main corner to that outside. But again, with that clean air, just being able to keep the car planted. First takers down to pit road. Here we go. Josh Chin. It's going to lead them down.
Yeah, he's going to bring, it looks like, is that AJ Burton behind him as well as Chris Stouffer. So only 3 drivers from the front pack. Fewer than I would think. Again, 2 pit stops left. This will be their second to last stop of the night. Liam Quinn assumes the lead. Lichtenberg, Doyle, Wood, and Thompson now your top 5.
Yeah, here comes Liam Quinn point. He's actually catching up to the lap cars up ahead.
I think this is going to make their decision to come, and he's going to hit pit lane this time. Here he comes. Oh no, Lichtenberg and the 11 got real tight together, and somehow Doyle gets it slowed down. There was almost contact
and actually
there.
passes 2 cars in the process.
That was incredibly aggressive by Doyle, but he made the move stick, so I give him props for that one. Walters also on pit lane, as is Bryant. Andrew Wood also in this group. Riley Thompson stays out front, as does Ray Kingsbury. And again, Spartan VR, I think they made the wrong decision here, setup-wise tonight. Unless they've got something that they've been hiding all night long. They just have not had the raw speed and they're not able to really do anything with it. So they're just kind of stuck in the mid-pack. I fear that they're not going to have a chance to win this race unless they make some adjustments. But you can't really adjust the aero other than ripping it off with some contact, which I wouldn't really recommend.
Yeah, you're fairly limited with what you can adjust on this car. I mean, you can adjust front pressure bias, the anti-roll bars, with the front of the rear one, weight jacker, and engine map, but that's pretty much it you can do in-car.
Thompson's going to stay out yet another lap, and as will Kingsbury and Bennett. Simpson's going to hit pit lane this time, as well as his teammate Dan Lee Ench. And A.J. Burton out in front of Joshua Chin here, and Chin's just going to drive right on by as they enter turn 1. That 93, so good all night long, and only about 4 laps until the 50 lap to go mark here.
Yeah, it really is only Achilles heel, if you can even call it that. It's been a few errors on pit road, but very minor to say the least. So he didn't make any mistakes this time by, and it's going to be really no contest.
Joshua Chin's quickest laps have come in the later stages of this race. He has now upped his best time to a 31.135, 231.345 miles an hour over the course of that lap. And now you see the 11 of Tim Doyle swap to the outside lane. We've seen this 11 be quick at stages throughout the race. Do you think he can keep it? Oh, no! There he goes! Slip out of turn 2. He'll pull back up on the racetrack and lose some time, but that almost was a crash there.
Yeah, just caught the white line off of turn 2. Was enough to send that car spinning towards the inside, but a fantastic job saving it.
Here's another look. And it just clipped the apron on the bottom and full-on 45-degree slide to the left and gathered it back up, and he only lost a couple spots. He will live to see another day here. Behind him, Bradley Walters and Liam Quinn almost got together.
Yeah, the field separated out quite a bit here.
Another driver that we have not talked about since the drop of the green flag, Henry Bennett in the 007. Back up in 6th. I just wonder if he's got the pace to go up and catch this lead group. Big, dicey moment out of turn 4 as everyone's slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, a lot of guys getting the draft. They're just flooring it through the field, trying to make up as many spots before the corner.
This is where I start to worry about things as people get more desperate as time goes on and people try to fit their cars in smaller holes that don't exist. That's when you're going to get these wrecks. And again, we have gone caution-free so far tonight. Not a single yellow flag slowing the progress of this race. We haven't even gotten close yet.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a couple times.
we had a few oh-no moments, but other than really the only actual contact we saw was with Simon Bryant and damaging his wing. That was the only real car contact we've seen all night long.
Do you think we're going to make it all the way to the end green, or do you think we're going to have an issue?
I mean, considering we've gone 3 complete fuel runs all the way to the end, I don't see why we can't do a 4th. I think we're going to go green to the end.
I think we can go green to the end. I just don't think we will. I think that at some point someone's going to make a mistake. These guys have been driving, we're at almost 200 miles of this race, and we have not really seen more than one short moment of a miscalculation. I just think you can't run 300 miles with 25 cars and not have at least a couple incidents. So I would expect to see a yellow flag at some point. I think it's going to drastically change the way that this race ends. I just don't know where and when it's going to happen.
Well, one thing that's drastically changed is the fact that for some unexplainable reason, most of the pack has been separated out from the leaders. It's the top 4 and then a decently sized gap about 2 seconds back to everyone else.
And with 50 laps to go, you're right. Top 4 all up the road quite a ways, and they actually just got through some lap traffic as well. Andreas Eich and Dan Lee Ench. So the top 4 kind of in their own, actually, I would really say top 3, and then Kingsbury just kind of hanging on to the tail of this. they've completely broken away throughout that pit sequence. They executed nicely and now beginning to pull a gap here. Now the question is, can they keep up a pace strong enough to be able to keep this gap on 5th place and so on the rest of the field here? So I don't know. 49 laps to go. Still a long way to go.
Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, unless these guys back here start to work together, which it looks like they're actually trying to do. I think Stouffer and Liam Quinn are trying to shuffle out of line with each other, so they're doing their best to catch back up.
Still only one driver to go sub 31 tonight, and that is, actually make that 2 drivers. Henry Bennett, the other one that has most recently gone a 30.923, which is actually, looks like it is a hair faster than Chris Stouffer's best lap time. So Henry Bennett has logged the quickest lap of the race, and it was recently, so maybe there's something he's hanging on. I just haven't seen... He hasn't really tried lately. He's been kind of just content running in 10th through 12th, and we haven't really seen him go for it yet. So the next 20 laps or so, I'd expect to see this 007. If he's got something in the tank, he's going to use it.
Yeah, and looking at the guys in behind, they're catching at about a 10th a lap, so they're closing back in.
Yeah, nice, neat 4-driver line, a couple lap cars in this as well, but I just don't think they're making quite as much time. There's just not as much draft involved in this neat, orderly, single-file group. So they're just not being very efficient. When you have all the slingshotting and stuff, you'd think it would slow you down, but sometimes it can make it faster. So now we've made our second-to-last pit stop. I know we're only about 10 laps into this run here, Finian, but how many gears are turning in your head? When are you planning on making that final stop and overcut or undercut? What do you think is the best way to go?
I would say, if anything, probably an undercut with tire fault we've seen is better. I think it's better to pit a little bit before than rather than a little bit later. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of leeway they have with it. They have a fairly small window to come down in. But, yeah, I would just try to come in, maybe, if anything, a little bit earlier.
Well, about a 10th a lap is how much faster that second group is going, and I do expect them to close this gap significantly in the next 10 to 15. But Joshua Chin still in control of this race. He's been the dominant one so far. He's led 75 laps tonight. I don't know if there's anybody else that could win that would be more deserving than this 93 tonight with how dominant... It seems like Joshua Chin, whenever he wins a race, it's not by a little bit. He wins it by a mile.
Yeah, he did the same thing at Sebring. Almost would have had a win at Mid-Ohio, too, but he had that yank to win.
Yeah, he loses by an inch and wins by a mile. Yeah, that Mid-Ohio race was heart-wrenching. It was Zach Campbell that got the win there by only a couple thousandths of a second. So make sure you head back and watch that. You can find that right here on Sim TV. And the road races have been really good this season, but the big ovals have been extraordinarily fun to watch, especially with the open setup platform. It's not something you typically get to see on the iRacing side of things. I think a lot of people trend towards the fixed setups because they like being on a level playing field, but some drivers like the ability to tweak on their stuff, and that's what we've seen, and I think it makes the racing a lot better. From a viewing perspective, at the very least.
Yeah, can't argue with that. These guys, you know, just, and I think part of the reason too they've been able to keep it so close a lot of times is the fact that they have been able to adjust the setups, because you can constantly make adjustments in the car as you're driving to this, what you're dealing with on the track, and making those adjustments really helps you to keep yourself and keep your car competitive, which is what you can't do in a fixed setup race.
So Chris Stouffer, with all the speed that he had at the early part of the race, he's still a contender to win this thing, but I don't know if he's quite as dominant as the 93. Joshua Chin has been so fast. Lichtenberg sits second. He's been quick. He hasn't dropped out of the top 5 all night long, Finney. What are the chances he could sneak this one out in that Broken Arrow 10?
The only way I can really see him, you know, getting this away is if he drafts past Chin out of turn 4 and gets a really good run by the line. I don't think he's going to be able to complete a pass because no one has been able to complete a pass on the 93 so far tonight. So I think he's going to have to just hope to outdraft him to the line. I think it's going to be his best shot.
Our pit window will open in approximately 10 laps. I think we're going to try to see some people maybe run this in reverse, like a road course race, where you spot the number that you can make it to the end from, and you just try to hit that lap. So you go about 30 laps. I think we'd see drivers at lap 120 just try to pull that strategy and finish the race with as little fuel as possible. The other thing you could see, at other racetracks would be drivers running the tank out of fuel so that they only have to put in a tiny little bit of gas at the end. But you're going to need to put tires on, so I think you're going to want to take it. You know, it doesn't really matter whether you take a little bit of fuel or a lot of fuel.
Yeah, if anything, you're going to be saving tenths, which really isn't a whole lot, especially really with the draft. You know, maybe at a short track that would matter quite a bit, but with the draft, you know, the tenths really don't mean a whole lot. If anything, you're going to need seconds, and at that point, you're potentially underfueling the car, which is what you absolutely do not want to do.
Yeah, we've seen that happen a couple times. Maybe not necessarily in this series, but we've seen it plenty in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA series races on Wednesdays, where drivers just don't fuel the car enough, and that's an embarrassing situation to be in. You want to make sure you have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. And again, in sports car racing, tires are a bit more optional. In oval racing, they're almost a necessity every time you hit pit lane.
But the second pack has made up quite a headway on this next group. They're pretty much within the draft of them now.
Yeah, all in one camera shot at the very least towards the beginning of the straightaway. And Chris Dover actually beginning to pull a bit of a gap on Doyle, Quinn, and Shallon. So this 13 again showing his strength. Last time I was a 31.5. It was one of the quickest laps on the racetrack of anybody. The only driver quicker. Actually, that was the 31.3. That was the quickest lap on the racetrack, period. Last lap. Christopher Demerit, Simon Bryant, Finian. Demerit especially, he's kind of dropped off the face of the earth. We know Bryant had to fix his wing, but this 144, and the 56 for that matter, have found themselves kind of buried deep in the field.
Yeah, no clue what really happened with the 144. Demerit, you just kind of shuffle out of the order, and really haven't talked about him since other than the first real third of the race. So unfortunately, he's going to pretty much need a caution in this small little group with him, Bryant, Downing, and DiCienzo. DiCienzo, too, we haven't mentioned all night long as well. He's a lap down. So, yeah, these guys need a caution pretty much to get themselves back in the run because they're just way too far back to drive up.
We've had 20 lead changes so far, Finian. I'm not going to count the pit stop lead changes, so do you think that we're going to stay at 20, or do you think we're going to get another lead change before this race is out?
I don't honestly see anyone really getting past the 93. I think he's just going to go straight to the end and win this thing. I have not seen really, many have come, many have tried. No one's been successful at it. Again, a less than 93, I think really the only way you can lose this race is if he makes a big blunder on pit road.
So making that money stop going to be incredibly important. Chris Stouffer had to get around a bobbling Dan Lee Ench on the front straightaway. He's back into 5th and closing quickly on Ray Kingsbury. So the 13 about to throw a whole wrench into the situation. Liam Quinn denies him the bottom out of turn 4, though.
Yeah, both these guys, they've been working together, shuffling back and forth to draft the way back up to the leaders. And here they are now. Liam Quinn working to the outside of Ray Kingsbury.
Yeah, it's amazing how everybody kind of accordions back together after this much green flag racing. Still about 14, 15 cars all in the front group.
Kingsbury are actually going to back out and let Quinn have the spot.
Lichtenberg still rides in 2nd place. It's AJ Burton who was your pole sitter in 3rd, then 4th place. Liam Quinn in the 44. He's bringing a whole head of steam to the outside, looking to the driver's right position. Oh, contact!
Oh, he makes contact with Burton, but he saves it. Wow!
That was incredible. At 230 miles an hour, the 44 just saved himself from absolute destruction. Holy cow, you gotta look at that. Here's a look. This is a crash here, Finney. This is not a save. This is a crash.
I full out expected him to get a face full of wall, but somehow he kept that thing going straight into it. Looking at his car, he has absolutely no damage to it at all.
Yeah, just kind of got hip checked there. Incredible reaction time. He falls to 9th, but that could have been so much worse. You think that's going to calm anybody down or make him a bit more aggressive?
I would think it would calm people down at least for a few laps.
I think it's put everybody on edge. Seeing that just happen after so minimal contact throughout the race, I think people are thinking in the back of their minds, what if that was me? Would I have been able to save that? And closing in, our pit window is essentially open now with 32 laps to go. So I think we'll start seeing drivers hit pit lane pretty shortly. But look at Stouffer all the way over AJ Burton now, putting pressure on for 4th. Andrew Wood looking for the lead as well.
He's gotten by Brandon Lichtenberg now, looking for that coveted lead position.
Drivers continuing to stay out on the racetrack here. Pit window is open. I wonder if we can maybe see all these guys hit the pit lane as one big group. I think they're probably split it up into at least 2 or more, but I mean, they might all be planning the same thing. Oh, together. The 32 is going to get tagged, and he saves it too.
Saves it.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I just don't understand how these guys have been saving this car from dead sideways slides at 220 miles an hour. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, this has been showing up. They're one of the most talented pool of drivers in this car. Showing it tonight.
That let Joshua Chin get away a half a second lead, but I don't think it's going to stay that way for very long. 30 laps to go here at Auto Club. For second, AJ Burton taking a look at Lichtenberg, nowhere to go. Liam Quinn on a mission to get back up to the front.
Oh, Stouffer and Ray Kingsbury now make contact. Oh,
Whoa,
boy.
big cloud of smoke out of 3 and 4, but they managed to continue. Is there any damage? I don't see any. I didn't get a good look at that, so let's go back and take a look. It was Kingsbury on the bottom, Stouffer on the high side. They're going to go into turn 3. I wonder if Kingsbury... Oh, yeah. Kingsbury just slides up, make a little bit of contact. A big cloud of smoke off the 25 car, but no harm, no foul. We continue. The intensity just got ratcheted up about 150%.
Yeah, it did. Up, and we got some drivers going to pit road.
Yeah, Stouffer, the first taker, and I think he's all by himself. Flynn Lazier is exiting pit lane. And for the lead, Lichtenberg on the top side. No one's been able to dethrone this 93 car yet. Does anybody have anything in the final 25 laps of this race?
Riley Thompson's work past Ray Kingsbury. He's trying to drive up to this top 3 that have separated after some of the stuff that's happened.
Waiting for more pit stops here. I think Andrew Wood's thinking about it.
Chin's down.
Chin is coming. No one else comes with him, though. He charged that entry there quite a bit. I hope he didn't speed on entry. AJ Burton assumes the lead. Riley Thompson, Liam Quinn, nose to tail on the back straightaway. Ray Kingsbury, Andrew Wood, Chowan, and Doyle all doing battle.
Yeah, where you can see that second group, I think everyone's got a similar state of mind. They're trying to run out the tank as much as they can.
Liam Quinn heads on down. He's going to bring a couple friends with him. The 67, as well as the 25.
Joshua Chin's out. No speeding penalty for him, and he didn't slide through the box either.
This time by will be 25 laps, 50 miles to go in the MYLAPS Indy Elite Series season in the Coca-Cola Triple Crown as Lichtenberg hits pit lane. He'll bring Wood. Oh, bit of a slide into pit lane for the 10 car, but everyone else gets throttled back down to pit road speed.
Oh boy, he's got to hope that the officials are really kind to him. He crossed the line at 84 miles an hour.
Oh boy, that's pushing it there.
Yeah, and he continued that speed too for quite a while. It wasn't until he got really to the actual pit road wall that he got down to pit road speed. So I don't know. Might have been enough, but he's kind of flirting with it at that point.
Well, all the leaders have come back together on the back straightaway. They haven't cycled out quite yet, but Chin and AJ, or actually that's Demerit there, but it's Chris Stouffer right behind.
Oh, and Lichtenberg has gotten a speeding
penalty.
penalty.
Man. Oh, that's horrible. After the night he's had tonight, that's going to be a stop and hold there for the 10. But Chris Stouffer, Joshua Chin, nose to tail, but Stouffer's got the advantage here as the rest of the field comes off pit lane. Chin's not going to have the lead. He's got to fight for it here.
He is already fighting for it through the guys that are currently trying to speed back up. He goes to the inside of Joshua Chin and takes away, or sorry, the inside of Chris Stouffer and takes second place. Right here comes a Burton with a huge run.
Yeah, and this will cycle him back out to the race lead once everyone else leaves pit lane. The 10 car has been released from his pit box. He's now 2 laps down in 19th, and that's how you throw away a race, Finian, getting a little bit too greedy. Andrew Wood putting pressure on the outside lane. So does AJ Burton, and Stouffer tucks back in the bottom. 13's got a big run here. He's going to swing left.
Yeah, might as well make a move while the tires are fresh. This is his best shot here.
Pit stops are done for the night for the front runners. No more pits unless the caution comes out. It's going to be a straight-up race to the end. It's Joshua Chin in control of this event, but Riley Thompson comes out right in front. I just don't think he'll have a big enough head of a steam here to hang on.
I think he's going to try. No, I thought he was going to might try to stay in front of Joshua Chin on that inside line, but he pulls out of the way. He's going to drop back a few positions.
Henry Bennett, the last driver to hit pit lane. He's going to roll back out. The rest of the field's going to blow by him while he's still on the pit road exit lane. Getting dicey here. Stouffer, Wood, Quinn, Burton round out the rest of your top 5 with Chin leading. Tim Doyle, Thompson, Showen, Kingsbury, Bennett, the rest of your top 10. Ooh, the 44 looking middle 3 wide, backed out of that.
Yeah, I honestly, for a lot of these guys, I don't know what else they can really do at this point. 93's in the lead.
Joshua Chin on the bottom of the racetrack has been dominant tonight. He's led 93 laps of 130 that we've completed so far on a scale, domination on a scale that we just have not seen yet this season. As he rolls down the back straightaway, Wood, Quinn, Doyle, Burton behind, all drivers hungry for a win here at Auto Club.
Yeah, I'm curious. We've seen these guys, they've been very good at giving each other a lot of space on these runs. I think we might see that.
Wow, the 67 pulled hard left in front of Doyle. They almost got hooked together, and as you said, that plenty of space before, but Finian, it's 20 laps to go. No space now. Take.
Yeah, you pretty much have to, especially for these guys up in the lead. I think they're going to want to start pinching that 93 down.
Oh, man, the 44 tucked right in behind the 93 now. It's getting down to showtime here. You're not going to give any room. It was give or take earlier. There's no more giving. It might be the holiday season, but I don't think anyone's feeling generous right now.
Oh, definitely, at least not for the next 15 minutes.
Quinn boxed in, Burton, and Doyle on the outside. Look at the run the 11 has.
Yeah, he's been a little bit quiet over that last green flag run, but he's back up making noise where he was earlier.
But Burton is going to slide on through and maintain third. Showen showing up to the party here late in the going as well, in that bright red Bud Light car in the middle.
Yeah, talking about being quiet, I barely mentioned him all night long. He's now running in 5th.
18 laps to go. Time is running out. Burton gets hip checked over to the right. Quinn holds that bottom lane. Showen all the way up to the fence. He's coming and coming fast. Here he comes to the outside lane now.
I think he was a little bit too wide entering the corner here, but might have a run on the back straightaway. He's maintaining pace with Burton and Quinn.
Oh man, this is making me nervous now. There's still so many laps left to go. It's still about 10 minutes worth of racing, and I just don't think they can keep doing this without a mistake for 10 minutes. "17 laps to go. Quinn pops out of line again. And actually, that time he had a really good head of steam into turn 1, but I don't think he's going to be able to clear the 93, and that would have been a critical pass if he could have done that, but he cannot.
Yeah, he's been struggling getting the car pinned in the corner. He has to use a lot more racetrack up than Joshua Chin, so I think that's been his Achilles heel earlier. That car just not being able to stick to the middle lane.
Looking off the rear wing of the 93, the dominant car of the night. It's an angry pack of wolves behind, but it's like he's riding an ATV just out of reach of these hungry animals behind him. Look at 3 wide for second behind him.
Oh, Quinn, big checkup in turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, that slowed up that whole group. But now they're going to have an even bigger head of steam when they catch that 93 car again.
And you can see him starting to set up the corner. Took a wider entry going to 3 to set up a run down the front straightaway. Here he comes.
Drafting, nose to tail, swing to the driver's right down the front straight. He's going to taste the lead for a moment. His wing in clean air for the first time out in front of that 93, but he cannot clear Joshua Chin, and he needs to do it.
He was so close to getting clear. I think pretty much it was the 93's nose that was just aligned with his rear tires. Whoa, AJ Burton, ballsy move, almost went up the middle.
Yeah, oh man, the 25 in the background also swinging to driver's right. Here comes Showen to the outside lane. Again, these drivers only have 14 laps, 28 miles to get this done. Time is running out, and like I said before, the holes that keep getting smaller are going to get forced bigger and bigger. The 31 takes someone all the way to the wall. That's Tim Doyle that he brought all the way up to the safer barrier on the front straight.
AJ Burton now side by side with Chin up in front.
Down the back straightaway now. Going to be 13 laps to go next time by Burton with a big head of steam into 3, but you're not going to be able to pass up there again. Bottom of the racetrack is where all the speed is right now, and the 93 is the one that's holding at hostage.
And a lot of guys stacked up close together, double file, triple file.
Oh man, real tight through the center of the corner is the 44. It let AJ Burton drive around the outside, and it looked like Schowen had to actually lift. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Christopher. Big block by the 67 into turn 3, and now Quinn swings the driver's right into that corner as well.
Yeah, I think Quinn's attempt at setting up turns 3 and 4 was the best shot he had at getting the lead. The best attempt I've seen so far.
Crossover move, elevator, top to bottom for the 44. Put him in position right behind Joshua Chin. AJ Burton pulled down to the side pod of the 93, but can't do anything with it. 12 laps to go.
Oh, just going to slam the door shut in front of the 44 Quinn. Whoa, in behind. Ray Kingsbury almost went below the white line trying to make a pass on Tim Doyle. That guy, Harry.
In the 2019 season, we've run over a dozen events. We've gone to road courses all over the country. We're going to end the season tonight at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California after a 300-mile race. But the next 22 miles or so are about to get wild. Here comes Quinn up the middle, 3 wide for second.
Yeah, Tim Doyle had a fantastic run move from 6th to 3rd.
Oh, man. The 67 and 32 almost got tangled on the back straight. 10 laps to go, 20 miles left.
Oh, Tim Doyle actually just got into the rear of Liam Quinn.
They're playing with inches. I don't even know if they're playing with inches. They're actually hitting each other now, Finian, and these are not stock cars. They don't have bumpers. They don't have fenders. Everyone's slipping and sliding around trying to get every position they can.
Here comes actually Chad Simpson too. Haven't seen a whole lot of him, and actually he's getting a bump trap from
Oh my goodness. High risk, high reward.
I can't even actually call it a bump trap because there's no bumper to
Well, there's a carbon fiber fin down the bottom of that rear bumper, or rear fascia, I would say. And Simpson, if he and Kingsbury figured out that that's doable, then so be it. That's super high risk, and I just don't know if it's going to pay off. Everyone's kind of getting strung out. I think this is going to be the calm before the storm here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Chad Simpson in 3rd place. Really haven't seen a whole lot of his car fighting for the lead. He's been very, very quiet all night long. Does he have anything for these drivers that we haven't seen yet? Here he goes to the outside.
Wow, Chad Simpson. Again, we were doubting Spark VR's pace earlier in the race. I think that was all misguided. They were just kind of hanging out, biding their time. Quinn pushes up the racetrack, shoves the 42 way high in turn 2, and he had to back out of it, but still in 3rd. Again, I think they were just hanging out, Finian. I don't think it was a lack of pace at all. They were just biding their time to not get themselves into trouble.
Spark VR currently running 3rd and 6th.
Again, missing a couple drivers tonight. Jonathan Goke, one of the drivers that's gone. And one of the drivers that was instrumental in helping this team at Michigan. Ooh, car loose on the apron. Kingsbury slipping and sliding, gathers it back up. But he essentially drops out of the fight for the win here. 6 laps to go next time by.
Chad Simpson trying to set up a run down the straightaway. Took a wide entry into 3.
6 laps to go. Swing wide does Tim Doyle. 3 wide for second into turn 1. Doyle with a huge head of steam. Can he do anything with it?
Not quite well. Liam Quinn going to slide up. He's going to get way out of the groove.
Yeah, that's going to hold up the 32 and the 13 to the front 3. Chin, Simpson, Doyle. Nose to tail. Simpson swings right. Doyle tried to follow but got blocked. AJ Burton was on the apron in 3 and 4. Almost spun that thing out for second place. Contact! No, into the fence. Bouncing off the wall. Simpson back into traffic. And it looks like that's the 11 of Doyle through the grass on the front straightaway. We stay green. And Doyle's out of the race into the fence on the front straight. And now, with 5 laps to go, all hell is broken loose at the front of the field. We stay green. Contact for second. 3 wide. Schowen and the 44 bouncing off each other into turn 3.
Oh, he's getting physical now.
Elbows out. 4 laps to go. Chin a half a second clear of AJ Burton, the pole sitter.
Yeah, this is dangerous now. It's a really big gap between second and first. If I'm Chin, I'll be worried now because these guys can get a massive run. I mean, he's just a sitting duck.
Some lap traffic up ahead. Chin, he has been the dominant force of the night. He's led 110 of the 147 laps we've run so far. But can he hang on for 3 more laps as they work their way through 3 and 4? Burton's got a big head of steam here.
Here comes Xiao, and he's also got a big head of steam. Here we go, 3 wide again.
3 wide for the lead. Chin a little bit tight. Caution out! Caution on the racetrack. It's, I believe, I think it might have been Chad Simpson in the background in the 42.
Yeah, Spun was trying to get to pit road, spun back onto the racing surface.
Yeah, here's a look. All that damage that he had spins out, and that's going to bring out the caution flag and is going to end the race here at Auto Club Speedway. For Joshua Chin, a sigh of relief, almost certainly. For 148 laps, we did not have a single caution. We had 24 lead changes at the front of the field. Joshua Chin led 112 laps. As long as he makes it back to the checkered flag here, he will win the final race of the 2019 MYLAPS Indy Elite Series season.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because if you imagine that happened about 5 to 10 seconds earlier when the AJ Burton or Shawn were ahead of the 93, they could have been taking home the lead of this. They could have taken all the win there.
All circumstances, the right time for Chin, and unfortunately for Burton and Shawn, they got to feel a little gypped there because that was a car that was well off the pace and probably should have found a better place to get off the racetrack. But again, a spin in turn 4 for Simpson ended up triggering that caution. And that's what's going to do it. And you have to feel for guys like Burton, Shawn, and Wood, and even Quinn, who had an opportunity to come back and make a pass in the closing moments. The yellow flag and the white flag will wave together. And it'll be 2 more miles around at pace speed for Joshua Chin.
Yeah, I know, but definitely I think these guys can argue about a lot of things, but definitely can't argue about how dominant this 93 and how deserving this win is. How many laps did he lead?
It'll be 114 when he comes around to win the race. And, I mean, if you look back at his win in Sebring, again, lose by an inch, win by a mile. If you think all the way back to Mid-Ohio, I think that gave Joshua Chin a little bit more drive after losing by inches at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. So I think that just made him drive that much harder the next time we were out at a road course. And at Sebring, completely led from pole and won that race. And this race tonight, he didn't start from pole. He actually started 11th. And I'm wondering where all this speed come from, because he only qualified P11. I mean, it was
didn't have a good qualifying setup, or maybe messed up his qualifying lap.
Yeah,
that's what I could imagine. But
he just ran this race textbook, not a single mistake, never took himself out of it. I mean, I'm blown away by not only the driving of this 93 car, but also the handling that it had, and whatever setup, if it is from Craig's Setup Shop, which is a sponsor on the side pod of this race car, bravo, because that was the most dominant I've ever seen an open setup car be on an IndyCar oval race, at least here on SimTV. So well done by Joshua Chin.
And AJ Burton, I'm sure, going to be a little bit disappointed with that, but I mean, was qualified in first. He's going to finish in second, so stayed up, and even beside that too, stayed, I think, pretty much in the top 3 almost all race long, at least the top 5 all race long.
300 miles later, Joshua Chin, his second victory this season. And he'll round out 2019 with a race win at Auto Club Speedway. Joshua Chin wins in Fontana. Burton, Shawn, Wood, Quinn, the rest of your top 5. Then Kingsbury, Stouffer, Thompson, Bennett, and Demerit rounding out the rest of your top 10. And I think celebration is certainly due. Winningest driver in Indy Elite Series history. And he'll add another win to that column here tonight. Here's a look at your race results as we wait for Chin to work his way around the course. 150 laps, 24 lead changes. 148 of those laps were green flag laps. Only the last 2 were caution. We want to thank the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Kokomo, Indiana for sponsoring this year's Triple Crown events at Pocono, Michigan and Fontana, California. We also want to thank MYLAPS for coming on board and sponsoring this season as title sponsor. We wish them the best as the Coca-Cola Bottling Plant of Kokomo takes over the title sponsorship for the 2020 season. Celebration for Chin. For Adam Blocker, he ends the season as the champion. And tonight we'll see if we can talk to him if he's around. But Finian, he didn't show up, didn't need the stress. He won the championship last week at Elkhart Lake. The 007 of Henry Bennett will finish second in the point standings, and certainly a decent run for him tonight, but just not quite as consistent as Blocker. So Blocker and Chin go out on top of the 2019 MYLAPS Indy Elite Series. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with interviews. Stay with us.
To get the best result, it's all about ambition, hard work, and doing the right things right. In 1982, two Dutch brothers invented an automatic way to time RC races. The system of the company, called AMB-IT, was quickly adopted by pro racing series like NASCAR and IndyCar. Automated timing for mass participation sport events was also invented in the Netherlands by Champion Chip in the early 90s. Giving athletes a personal chip time of their performance. In 2008, the two companies joined forces and MYLAPS Sports Timing was born. We never stop innovating with state-of-the-art timing systems and digital services to enhance the event experience. With our X2 platform, we bring motorsports timing to a whole new level with two-way communication. Our event app and photo video create the ultimate event experience for athletes and fans with live data and personal content like photos and videos. SpeedHive provides a pro-level racing experience for amateur and club events by analyzing personal data. We capture performances of over 20 million racers and athletes every year and use live data to spark emotions. MYLAPS. Experience progress.
Welcome back live to SimTV in the 2019 MYLAPS Indy Elite Series finale here from Auto Club Speedway. It's our third place finisher, Tony Shaw. And Tony, in the 31 the night you started back in 13th. It was a top 10 run for you, then a top 5 towards the end, but obviously the race cut a little bit short there. Do you think if you had those extra 2 laps, you could have gotten that win?
Yeah, I was basically, the way I got up there, I was passing on the outside, and I think I could have had him at least at, not 100% clean pass, but at least got him at the line.
Tonight, it seemed like it was pack racing everywhere, but the 93 just had incredible speed on the bottom of the racetrack. What setup changes did you make throughout the week to get this car set up, and how different was the setup for here versus Michigan from a couple weeks ago?
Actually, we used our Indy set, and I didn't do too much tuning to it, so I'm not privy to all the tweaks, but yeah, we just basically used a Indy set, and mine, we did have a one with a little more downforce in it, but I opted for the less downforce, assuming it gets strung out at the end there, and it definitely, that's probably what Chin had, was the higher downforce, so he could stick it on the bottom, but I just wanted a little more speed.
Looking back at your 2019 season, what improvements do you think need to be made for 2020, or are you pretty happy with your performance this year?
I'm somewhat happy. I mean, I know I could do better. I just need to stay out of the messes. Is all I needed to do. I just kept getting caught up in wrecks throughout the season. If I just maybe stay a little more patient, avoid the carnage throughout the race, I probably would have had a better season.
All right, Tony. Well, congratulations on a solid top 5 run, a podium finish in the season finale. Good luck to you in 2020. We'll see you there.
Thank you much.
All right, we'll move on now to the next driver, which will be AJ Burton, who finished second place tonight. AJ, a pole-sitting run, a top 5 car all night long. The race cut a bit short. Do you think if you had those extra 2 laps, you could have got it done?
I'd like to think so, but if I'm being perfectly honest, Josh had the best car by far, and there was no one getting around him.
Throughout the race, we saw drivers kind of experimenting bottom lane, top lane, middle groove. Where did you feel like you could make up the most ground, and did you feel like you had to get the bottom away from the 93 to be able to get by?
At the start of the race, I was liking the outside. You had a bit more momentum on exit corner, so it was good up there, especially when the pack was big and you had a lot of cars around. But late in the race, you wanted that bottom. There was enough grip as the temperatures cooled that if you were on that bottom line and you were leading, no one was getting around you. And Josh had the track position, and he thoroughly deserved the win for that.
After 2019 season, we've seen you kind of flirt with a victory a couple times at these bigger racetracks. What are you looking forward to in 2020, and do you think you can break through and get a victory there?
Just hopefully to be able to make more races and run up the front a lot more. Obviously, I've only done a couple of races this season. I was towards the front at Pocono at the start of the season. And again today, unfortunately, Kansas, which was another track I felt I could have a good result, didn't go well. But yeah, like I say, next season, just be able to make more races and hopefully get a couple of top 5s.
All right, AJ. Well, congratulations. A second place run in the 67 tonight. We look forward to seeing you back next season.
Cheers, guys.
Absolutely. Have a good night. Moving on now to our race winner, Josh Chin. Joshua, tonight in the number 93, absolutely unstoppable. You led 114 laps. It looked like Sebring, but with all left-hand turns tonight. Walk us through your start from 11th, your charge to the front, and holding off those drivers in the closing moments.
I'm a little confused, honestly, because the car was good, but people just kind of let me go up to the lead and stay up there, and no one really ever tried to get me off the bottom. I don't know if people were trying to save fuel and didn't realize how much they were going to have to save to really save some time, or what the deal was, but the car got up front and it was good, and didn't really have to get back in that second spot on the bottom where the aero push got real bad, and I was for a little bit trying to feed some of those guys that aero push and get them to fall back from the pack.
I think throughout the season, we've seen you only improve as we've gone through. Again, you've won a whole bunch of races in the Indy Elite Series, but winless until we hit Sebring this year. Did something change at Mid-Ohio? Was there something in your competitive spirit that just realized you needed to get to victory lane again? Was that what pushed you to get the win at Sebring and here? Or do you just think it was just a combination of more factors than that?
I wish I could say it was that, but I think it just all came down to I was making less mistakes. I know I threw some away early in the season. There were some small technical problems that prevented like Pocono from being won, but I threw away some races. I know Phoenix was a big throwaway win that without that it might have been in contention for the championship with things going right later on, but yeah, a lot of it was just me not making mistakes, not getting those positions to have problems anymore.
Looking forward to 2020, do you think you've learned some things at the tail end of the season that will help you become a championship contender for next season?
Definitely learned some new things. Unfortunately, not going to be able to run for the title next season. Work schedule shifting around, but maybe make a Tuesday race here and there. Hopefully, more road courses on the schedule next time around. But yeah, it was a great learning season. Kind of the opposite of last season, where it started off real weak and then came on real strong. I think this year we started off pretty well and we had a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the year, we really put races together, and it showed, especially for Andrew and Liam. They both got top 5s again.
Josh, we want to wish you congratulations here from SimTV. Good luck in the races that you do show up for next season. If you are around, congratulations and enjoy the celebration.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for broadcasting. It's been great all season, and I can't wait to see him next year.
Absolutely, Josh. Have a good night. We'll see you later. All right, Finney, and with that, that concludes the interviews for tonight. Top 3 drivers, Shawan, Burton, and Shin. Of course, Adam Blocker, you're your season champion. Not around to talk tonight, but let's roll through our finishing order one last time before we leave this evening. Your thoughts on the 2019 MYLAPS Indy Elite Series season? I have to say, this has probably been the most entertaining season from start to finish I think we've ever seen here on SimTV, at least on the open wheel side, with how much and how stiff the competition was and how respectful the competitors were throughout.
Yeah, I know these guys have done an absolutely phenomenal job. This is probably one of the best series I would say we've seen on the channel completely from start to finish. They've done a fantastic job all season long, like you said, with a lot of respect given amongst these guys, which you really do need in this type of car. And if you miss these guys racing the channel, you don't have to wait a whole lot long because they start back up on January 5th.
Yeah, again, they're going to start their next season, their 2020 season, with a new title sponsor. Will be the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Kokomo, Indiana, who sponsor the Triple Crown events this season. They are back in a full-time title sponsor status for 2020. You're going to catch all of the 2020 Coca-Cola Indy Elite Series right here on Sim TV. It'll be at 7:15 on Sunday nights. That's Eastern time for everyone else not in the Eastern time zone. We're not done yet quite tonight. Again, another stream at 9:40 p.m. The three-wide Triple Crown from Indianapolis. More IndyCar action fixed this time, so make sure you join us for that at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for watching again. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney and DeCuna. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button if you enjoyed this stream, and we'll see you later tonight. Have a great night.